The arena was packed, buzzing with excitement. The fans screamed and chanted, waving banners and holding up their phones. Tonight was supposed to be just another big wrestling event. But something in the air felt different. Backstage, The Rock and John Cena were already in the spotlight, strutting confidently toward the ring. Cameras flashed as they flexed, shouted, and posed for the crowd. They were at the top of their game, the champions of charisma, strength, and showmanship. Then, without warning, a figure appeared at the entrance. Calm, silent, unassuming. Jeans, a plain jacket, no flashy gear, no entourage, just a calm face and eyes that seemed to pierce through the chaos. Steven Seagal. The crowd laughed at first. "Who does he think he is?" someone shouted. The arena's loud roar of fans quickly turned into murmurs of confusion. The Rock raised an eyebrow, smirking. Cena chuckled, shaking his head. They had faced dozens of opponents, and none had intimidated them like this man standing quietly at the entrance. Steven walked slowly toward the center of the ring. No rush, no aggression, just a quiet confidence that made the air feel heavier. The lights reflected off his calm expression, and for a moment, it felt like time had slowed down. Cameras zoomed in, capturing every small movement. He didn't wave, he didn't pose. He simply took his place in the ring, letting the crowd wonder. Is this a stunt? A joke? Or something else entirely? The Rock stepped forward first, bouncing on the balls of his feet, voice booming. "This isn't your dojo, old man. Step aside before you get crushed." Cena followed, adding his signature grin. "Yeah, maybe sit this one out." The crowd cheered, thinking this would be a hilarious mismatch. Steven Seagal didn't move a muscle. He didn't even flinch. His eyes stayed locked on The Rock and Cena, calm, unshaken, like a still lake watching stormy waves crash around it. The energy in the arena shifted, the laughter faded, replaced with curiosity and tension. Something was about to happen, but no one could guess what. And then, as if sensing the audience's anticipation, Seagal took a single, deliberate step forward. Silence fell. Every fan, every wrestler, every camera operator froze for a split second. The Rock and Cena looked at each other, puzzled. The man they thought they could intimidate was not only unafraid, he seemed untouchable. No one inside that arena would forget the moment they first saw Steven Seagal standing calmly in the center of the ring. And what happened next would shock everyone. The crowd's excitement was electric, a mixture of cheering and nervous anticipation. Backstage, assistants, security, and camera crews whispered among themselves. Some were trying to get closer to the ring for a better view, while others simply stood frozen, unsure of what was unfolding. This was supposed to be a standard wrestling event, a showcase of strength, agility, and charisma. The Rock and John Cena were the stars. Everyone knew what to expect, or so they thought. The Rock and Cena strutted around the ring, exchanging playful jabs and shouting into the microphones. The crowd roared, hanging on every word. "You two think you own this ring?" Someone in the audience yelled, and the cheers grew louder. The Rock flexed, raising his eyebrow in his signature grin. Cena, never one to be outshined, bounced on the balls of his feet, fist pumping the air. They were confident. Too confident. Meanwhile, Steven Seagal remained perfectly still. He didn't shout. He didn't flex. He didn't engage in theatrics. His presence alone seemed to quiet the chaos around him. Like a calm storm center that drew attention without trying. The audience whispered, some craning their necks to get a better look. Who was this man? A stuntman? A retired action star? A celebrity cameo? Nothing in the announcements or promotions had hinted at this. The Rock leaned down into the microphone, smirking, and said, "I hope you know what you're walking into, old man. This isn't your dojo." The words were meant to taunt, to provoke, to assert dominance. Cena chimed in, grinning broadly. "Yeah, maybe you should sit this one out before things get uncomfortable." Steven didn't flinch. He didn't even blink. His calm gaze stayed locked on them, steady, unwavering, almost unnerving. The audience started murmuring, sensing something unusual. There was no fear in him, only control. That control was something neither The Rock nor Cena had faced before. For a moment, the arena seemed to slow down. Every camera focused on Seagal, every fan in the crowd holding their breath. Even the referees, who were used to chaos, seemed hesitant, unsure whether to step in or wait. Something in his posture suggested experience far beyond what they had anticipated. The Rock decided to push further. He stepped closer, towering over Seagal with his broad shoulders and confident stance. "Come on, show us what you've got," he barked. Cena joined, circling like predators. Their combined presence meant to intimidate anyone except, apparently, Seagal. The man didn't move an inch. He didn't even tighten his fists. The audience noticed the shift immediately. Laughter and jeers had begun to fade into whispers of curiosity and astonishment. Some fans exchanged glances, unsure whether this was part of the show or something entirely unexpected. Even veteran fans of wrestling felt the tension in the air. There was a story unfolding before their eyes, a story they hadn't anticipated. As The Rock and Cena continued their playful intimidation, Seagal finally spoke in a voice calm, controlled, and deliberate. Sometimes, strength isn't about size. Sometimes it's about stillness, patience, and knowing what moves are truly necessary. His words were soft, but they carried weight. The crowd fell silent. Cameras zoomed in to capture every detail. His slight nod, his steady stance, the faint hint of a smile. For the first time, The Rock and Cena paused. They exchanged a quick glance. They had faced opponents who tried to get in their heads before, but nothing like this. No aggression, no theatrics, no challenge, just quiet, unwavering confidence. It was unsettling. It was different. Seagal's presence forced the audience to pay attention not just to the spectacle but to the man himself. He moved closer to the center of the ring, each step deliberate, measured, almost meditative. The crowd couldn't take their eyes off him. He didn't need to shout or flex. His calm aura commanded attention and respect. The Rock tried once more, raising his microphone high. "Listen, old man, this is our world. You can't just walk in here thinking you're the center of attention." He laughed, expecting the crowd to cheer with him. But the crowd's reaction was different this time. Some still cheered, some were silent, and others just stared, sensing the shift in energy. Cena circled, pretending to adjust his stance, but his eyes betrayed something deeper, a hint of doubt. This wasn't a man to underestimate. Every muscle in Seagal's body radiated control, precision, and experience. His calm demeanor contrasted sharply with their aggression, and that contrast was unnerving to the very core. As the tension built, the announcer's voice trembled slightly. "Ladies and gentlemen, we don't know what's about to happen. But this is unlike anything we've seen before." The crowd erupted in murmurs, cameras flashed like lightning, and fans whispered to each other. Is he really going to fight? Or is this some kind of demonstration? Seagal didn't respond to any of the taunts. He simply adjusted his stance, squared his shoulders, and let the silence speak for him. The Rock and Cena, champions of bravado and showmanship, realized in that moment, this was not just another opponent. This was someone else entirely. And in that still, quiet moment, the stage was set. The crowd, the wrestlers, and the cameras were all waiting for the inevitable confrontation. No one could guess what would happen next. And for every person in the arena, from the front row to the camera crew, the anticipation was almost unbearable. The arena was electric. The crowd's energy had shifted from casual excitement to a tense anticipation, a collective holding of breath. The Rock and John Cena were used to commanding the spotlight, to making fans roar at the peak of their confidence. Yet, something about Steven Seagal's calm presence was unnerving. He hadn't shouted, flexed, or thrown a punch. And yet, the very air around him seemed to demand respect. The Rock stepped closer, flexing and bouncing on the balls of his feet. His eyes locked on Seagal. Cena circled the other side, mimicking his partner's aggressive stance. They exchanged a quick nod, a silent signal that it was time to show Seagal who ruled the ring. "All right, old man," The Rock said, voice booming. "Let's see what you got." Seagal didn't flinch, not even a twitch of a muscle. He simply adjusted his stance, planting his feet firmly on the mat, his calm gaze never leaving the two wrestlers. The crowd, which had been laughing moments before, now watched in silence. Sensing the tension escalate, The Rock lunged first, charging forward with a mock attack, a calculated move meant to intimidate. Cena followed with a playful feint, aiming to corner Seagal from the other side. The audience cheered, expecting theatrics and chaos. But what happened next stunned everyone. With a grace that seemed almost unreal, Seagal sidestepped The Rock's lunge in a single smooth motion. It wasn't a fight. It was a demonstration of precision. The Rock stumbled slightly, his balance thrown off, and the crowd gasped. Cena advanced, fists raised, trying to test Seagal's defenses. Again, Seagal moved with a calm fluidity, redirecting Cena's energy without striking him, every movement minimal yet perfectly calculated. The arena erupted in whispers. Some fans jumped to their feet, cameras shaking in excitement. "Did you see that?" shouted one spectator. "He's untouchable." Another yelled. The Rock and Cena's expressions shifted from amusement to bewilderment. They had faced opponents with incredible strength and speed before, but nothing like this. Nothing so calm, so precise, so untouchable. The Rock tried again, this time more forcefully, swinging with a series of mock punches and maneuvers. Seagal didn't flinch. He simply shifted, redirected, and gently guided The Rock's energy away, leaving him slightly off balance. Cena attempted a flashy maneuver, spinning towards Seagal, hoping to corner him. Again, Seagal moved effortlessly, a single step to the side, and Cena's momentum carried him harmlessly past. The audience could barely believe what they were seeing. No punches landed, no strikes were thrown, yet the impact of Seagal's skill was undeniable. The Rock and Cena, both masters of strength and showmanship, were now visibly frustrated. They realized something critical. This was not a performance in their world. This was a lesson, and they were the students, whether they liked it or not. Seagal spoke quietly, yet clearly, every word carrying weight. Strength without control is meaningless. Power without respect is dangerous. Watch carefully. Learn what real mastery looks like. For the first time, The Rock and Cena stopped attacking. They exchanged a glance, their competitive egos slowly replaced by curiosity and respect. The crowd, sensing the shift, held their collective breath. Phones were raised, recording every moment, capturing the rare scene of two world-renowned wrestlers humbled by a single man's calm precision. The tension escalated further when Seagal demonstrated a controlled movement, redirecting both The Rock and Cena's combined energy without touching them aggressively. The arena fell completely silent. Every fan, every camera operator, every staff member understood that this was a turning point. What they had assumed would be a comedic confrontation had turned into a display of unmatched skill and control. The Rock finally straightened, wiping sweat from his brow, his voice low and cautious. All right, maybe we underestimated you." Cena nodded, lowering his fists, a hint of a smile mixed with respect appearing on his face. The audience erupted into cheers, realizing they had just witnessed something extraordinary. Seagal remained calm, serene, unshaken. The Rock and Cena, champions of charisma, humor, and brute strength, now understood a vital lesson. Mastery wasn't about loud displays of power. It was about precision, control, and quiet confidence. The crowd roared in appreciation, witnessing history unfold live in front of their eyes. And in that moment, every person in the arena, from the front row fans to the camera crew, realized that the climax of this encounter wasn't about aggression. It was about respect, skill, and the undeniable presence of a man who had just shown that true mastery didn't need to shout. The arena was buzzing with a mixture of awe, confusion, and excitement. What had begun as a playful, almost comical confrontation between Steven Seagal and two of the world's most famous wrestlers had transformed into something entirely unexpected. The crowd, which had been cheering, laughing, and shouting just moments ago, now stood in stunned silence. Every eye was locked on the center of the ring, where Seagal remained calm and composed, seemingly untouched by The Rock and John Cena's combined energy. Fans whispered among themselves, trying to make sense of what they had just witnessed. Some shook their heads, laughing nervously, thinking maybe it was staged. Others were completely silent, unable to look away. The camera crews captured every second, every subtle movement of Seagal's posture, every small flick of his wrist, as if even the slightest motion carried some secret significance. Backstage, officials and security personnel were equally astonished. They exchanged hurried glances. "Did you see that?" one security guard whispered, disbelief lacing his voice. He didn't even touch them. And yet, his voice trailed off, the rest of the sentence unnecessary. Everyone in that room knew what they had seen, defied logic and expectation. The Rock and John Cena, usually so dominant and confident, were now visibly unsettled. They stepped back, breathing a little heavier, exchanging a glance that spoke volumes. There was no mockery in their eyes anymore. The playful banter, the teasing, the arrogance, it was all replaced by a quiet respect. For the first time in years, they felt outmatched, not by brute strength but by sheer mastery, control, and calm authority. The crowd began to murmur again, louder this time. Fans started to realize that this wasn't just a display of physical skill, it was a demonstration of presence. Seagal's calm, silent demeanor had shifted the energy of the arena entirely. Whispers spread like wildfire. Is he really that skilled? He didn't even hit them. This is insane. People lifted their phones, recording, capturing, and sharing. Social media would erupt later with clips labeled, "Seagal humbles The Rock and John Cena without throwing a punch." An older fan in the front row leaned toward the person next to him, shaking his head in disbelief. "I've seen a lot of matches, kid. But I've never seen anything like this. Look at him, so calm, so collected. He doesn't even need to fight to dominate the ring." Around him, others nodded silently, sensing the truth in his words. Even the commentators were struggling for words. One, normally fast-talking and lively, muttered in awe, "Ladies and gentlemen, I don't even know what to say. That was unreal. I've never seen wrestlers of this caliber confronted like this. And yet, they're completely humbled. Seagal has just rewritten the rules of engagement." Meanwhile, The Rock slowly ran a hand down his face, trying to process what he had just experienced. Cena, usually full of energy and quick wit, remained silent, watching Seagal intently. Both wrestlers seemed to be coming to the same realization. This was not an ordinary opponent, and tonight was no ordinary match. The crowd's energy, the flashing cameras, the anticipation, it all faded into the background as everyone absorbed the quiet power standing in the center of the ring. And then, something even more surprising happened. An older official, someone who had been observing the entire event from ringside, leaned forward and whispered to the head referee, "Do you know who he is?" The referee shook his head slowly. "No, but I think it's time we find out." Suddenly, the tension shifted. The audience, still buzzing with excitement, noticed the subtle change in the official's behavior. Whispers of recognition started to spread. Some fans pointed toward the ring. "Wait, isn't that Steven Seagal, the actor? From all those movies? Why is he here?" Seagal remained calm throughout. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't flex. He simply stood, silent and steady, as if he were aware of the growing realization around him. Every movement, every subtle shift in posture, conveyed absolute confidence. The crowd felt it. The wrestlers felt it. Even the officials, who had been tasked with maintaining order, felt it. The arena had become a stage not for chaos or aggression, but for revelation. Every spectator sensed that what was happening in the ring was bigger than a match or a fight. It was a moment that would be remembered, a turning point, a demonstration of skill, presence, and quiet authority. As Seagal adjusted his stance and looked calmly at The Rock and Cena, the audience held their breath. Something was about to happen. Something that no one could have predicted. The energy in the arena shifted again from awe to anticipation, from curiosity to amazement. And in that charged silence, everyone realized this was just the beginning. The arena was silent, the tension almost tangible, like electricity hanging in the air. Fans leaned forward in their seats, phones raised, unable to tear their eyes away from the ring. The Rock and John Cena stood motionless, their usual bravado replaced with a mixture of respect, disbelief, and confusion. No one could predict what would happen next until the sound of hurried footsteps echoed from backstage. Suddenly, a group of sharply dressed executives and officials rushed into the arena. Papers rustled in their hands, and the murmurs of the audience grew louder. Cameras swung toward them, capturing every detail. The Rock raised his eyebrow, puzzled. Cena shifted slightly, crossing his arms. Even the commentators, usually quick to fill silence with chatter, were left momentarily speechless. One of the executives approached the ring, holding out a folder filled with documents. "Sir," he said, his voice trembling slightly with excitement, "we've been looking for you. The board has been waiting for your arrival." Seagal remained calm, unshaken, his gaze fixed on The Rock and Cena. "I'm here," he replied, his voice soft but commanding. The crowd leaned forward, trying to catch every word. The Rock and Cena exchanged another glance, their expressions now a mix of astonishment and curiosity. The executive handed Seagal the documents. "Sir, As the newly appointed strategic advisor and guest coach for today's event, we need your approval before the main match can continue." The crowd erupted into whispers and exclamations. Phones flashed as fans captured the moment. "Wait. Strategic advisor?" one fan shouted. "Guest coach? That's Steven Seagal?" Another yelled. "This can't be real." The arena buzzed with a mixture of disbelief and excitement. Social media notifications were already lighting up as fans live-streamed the scene. The Rock and Cena, still standing in the center of the ring, now realized the truth. This wasn't just a celebrity cameo. This wasn't a stunt. This wasn't even a challenge in the traditional sense. Steven Seagal held authority here, not just the authority of skill and presence, but actual responsibility and power. The Rock stepped forward, his voice lowered but steady. "Wait, you're in charge? You mean we've been wrong?" Cena nodded beside him, still processing. "We thought this was a joke. We thought you were just here to mess with us, but—" His voice trailed off as he gestured toward Seagal, his expression one of awe. Seagal gave a faint, calm smile. "You were not wrong to test me," he said, "but you underestimated the value of respect, control, and observation. Every move you made, every attempt to intimidate, was part of your own lesson." The crowd erupted into cheers. Fans were shouting, some standing, some recording, all trying to capture this once-in-a-lifetime moment. Even the referees and officials were smiling, realizing that the confrontation had transformed into a profound teaching moment. Seagal turned to The Rock and Cena, nodding slightly. "Strength and showmanship are impressive, yes, but mastery is understanding what is necessary and what is not. You both displayed courage, and now you understand a bit more about patience, control, and awareness." The Rock, usually quick with witty comebacks and playful insults, remained silent. He extended a hand to Seagal, who shook it firmly. Cena followed suit, bowing slightly in respect. The arena roared again, capturing the rare and unexpected moment of humility from two of the world's most confident performers. Even the fans were learning from this moment. The energy in the arena had shifted entirely from cheering for physical strength to revering calm mastery. Seagal had not fought aggressively, had not humiliated anyone, yet he had commanded respect in a way no match could ever achieve. And then, as Seagal walked toward the side of the ring, another executive spoke to the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, you have just witnessed a demonstration from a true master. The man standing here is not only a celebrity but a teacher of discipline, respect, and mastery. Today, you've learned that power isn't always about the loudest punch or the biggest flex sometimes. It's about control, patience, and understanding your environment." The crowd erupted into chants of admiration, clapping and cheering louder than any wrestling match they had seen that night. The Rock and Cena stood side by side, nodding in agreement, humbled, yet enlightened. Their expressions reflected something rare, genuine respect for someone who had shown them a different kind of strength, a strength that didn't require violence to command authority. For everyone in that arena, the lesson was clear. Appearances can be deceiving, and true power often comes quietly, without fanfare, without aggression. The Rock and Cena had faced a man they underestimated, and in the process, so had the entire audience. Seagal exited the ring calmly, leaving behind a memory that would be talked about for years to come. The arena buzzed for hours after, not about who won or lost, but about the lesson they had all just witnessed. Respect, mastery, and the quiet force of true skill. The arena was alive with cheers, applause, and a sense of wonder. Fans were still buzzing from the revelation that Steven Seagal, the man who had silently and effortlessly dominated the ring without throwing a punch, was not just a guest but a true authority figure. The energy in the crowd had shifted completely. Excitement was now mixed with awe and admiration. People were talking to one another, replaying the moment over and over in their minds, and uploading clips to social media faster than ever. The Rock and John Cena stood in the center of the ring, absorbing what had just happened. Their expressions were no longer playful or confident. They were humbled, reflective, and in a way, enlightened. The Rock ran a hand down his face, a rare, contemplative look crossing his features. Cena's usual grin was gone, replaced by a thoughtful, almost reverent expression. Both men realized that this encounter wasn't about winning or losing a match. It was about a lesson in respect, skill, and humility. Seagal, standing calmly nearby, observed them quietly. He didn't need to raise his voice or flex his muscles to assert authority. The Rock and Cena's acknowledgement of him, their gestures of respect, their lowered stances, their attentive gazes was proof that his silent demonstration had succeeded. The Rock finally spoke, his voice steady but full of newfound humility. "Steven, I've faced a lot of opponents in my career. I've thrown a lot of punches and climbed a lot of ropes, but I've never faced anyone like you. You don't fight like anyone else, and that is something else entirely." Cena nodded in agreement. "Yeah, we came in thinking this was just another match, another show, another spotlight, but what you showed us, the calm, the control, the precision, that's real power. And we get it now. We really do." Seagal gave a faint smile, almost imperceptible, but filled with approval. "Strength without respect, without control, is meaningless. You both have courage, talent, and showmanship. But mastery is about knowing what to do and what not to do. Today, you've taken the first step in understanding that." The audience erupted in cheers again, sensing the rare moment of humility between three larger-than-life figures. Cameras clicked frantically, capturing every subtle nod, every glance of recognition. Fans were pointing, whispering to one another, replaying the lessons being spoken aloud. For the first time that night, the crowd understood that this event wasn't about entertainment alone. It was about a demonstration of true skill, presence, and authority. Seagal turned to the audience, his calm demeanor commanding attention. "Remember this. Respect isn't something you show only when someone is stronger or more famous than you. Respect is something you show to everyone, even when no one is watching. True power is measured by your patience, your control, and your humility." The Rock and Cena both nodded. The Rock raised his hand slightly, gesturing to the crowd, and said, "You hear that? That's the kind of lesson we can all take to heart. Strength isn't just physical. It's mental, it's emotional, and it's about how you carry yourself." Cena added, with a smile, "And if anyone here ever doubts that, just remember what you saw tonight. Not all power comes with noise and flash. Sometimes it comes quietly, with confidence and respect." Backstage, officials and camera crews were buzzing, discussing what had just unfolded. Fans were sharing videos and captions like, "The night The Rock and Cena met Seagal and learned a real lesson." Social media lit up within minutes, with thousands of comments expressing admiration, surprise, and awe. Seagal, sensing that his work was done, nodded once more to the two wrestlers, then slowly walked toward the side of the ring. He didn't need a grand exit or dramatic gesture. His calm, quiet presence had already left a mark far stronger than any physical fight could. The Rock and Cena watched him leave, both nodding silently, understanding that what they had witnessed was something far greater than a match. As Seagal disappeared from view, the crowd erupted in a standing ovation. Fans chanted his name, applauded the wrestler's humility, and celebrated the rare lesson they had been given. It wasn't a fight that people would remember. It was the demonstration of mastery, control, and respect that would echo long after the arena lights dimmed. In that moment, The Rock and Cena fully embraced the realization: the true champions aren't always the loudest, the strongest, or the flashiest. True champions are those who understand balance, humility, and the power of quiet mastery. And Steven Seagal, with his calm presence and subtle but undeniable authority, had just shown them all what it truly meant to be powerful. The arena buzzed for hours afterward, fans leaving with wide eyes and hearts full of awe. Social media exploded with clips, reactions, and commentary. And for everyone present, the memory of that night, the night Steven Seagal humbled The Rock and John Cena without a single punch, would last a lifetime. The crowd was still buzzing from the unforgettable spectacle they had just witnessed. Fans streamed out of the arena, phones full of videos, hearts full of admiration, and minds racing with excitement. It wasn't just a wrestling event anymore. It had transformed into a lesson, one about humility, control, and the quiet but undeniable force of true mastery. Steven Seagal had done something few could ever achieve. He had humbled two of the world's most confident performers without throwing a single punch. Back in the center of the ring, The Rock and John Cena stood together, still processing the events. Their expressions were a mix of awe, respect, and reflection. They weren't just thinking about the skills they had seen, but about the deeper lesson behind them. Strength, they realized, wasn't always measured in flashy moves, loud boasts, or overwhelming force. True strength was calm, deliberate, and measured. It was about knowing when to act and when to observe, when to speak and when to remain silent. The Rock turned to the crowd, his voice carrying over the still excited audience. Tonight, we learned something important. We came into this ring thinking it was about us, our skills, our showmanship, our fame. But what Steven showed us is that real power isn't always loud. Real mastery doesn't need to shout or flex or make a scene. It's quiet, deliberate, and respected by those who understand it. Cena stepped forward, nodding in agreement. He didn't need to fight us. He didn't need to prove anything with force. And yet, in one demonstration, he taught us all a lesson we'll never forget. Humility, patience, and control, that's true power. And that's a lesson everyone here can take into their own life, whether in the ring, in school, at work, or at home. The crowd erupted into cheers, clapping, and chanting Steven Seagal's name. Phones captured every moment, streams went viral within minutes, and fans continued to talk about the event as they streamed out of the arena. This was no longer just a wrestling night. It was a viral, unforgettable lesson in respect and mastery. Seagal, standing quietly at the edge of the ring, gave a faint nod toward The Rock and Cena. No words were needed. His presence alone had delivered the moral. The wrestlers returned the nod, their heads slightly bowed, acknowledging the depth of the lesson. There was no pride, no arrogance, just quiet understanding. And then, Seagal turned to the audience. Remember this. Respect isn't something you show only to those who are stronger, richer, or more famous than you. Respect is something you give freely even when no one is watching. True power doesn't come from your fists or your voice. True power comes from your control, your patience, and your humility. The arena fell silent for a moment, as if the entire audience was absorbing those words. Then, applause erupted once more, louder than before. Fans cheered not just for the spectacle, but for the life lesson it had brought. Cameras flashed, phones recorded, and social media lit up with hashtags and comments. Number respect is power. Number Seagal lesson. Number The Rock and Cena humbled. The Rock looked toward the crowd one last time. Take this lesson with you. Strength without respect is meaningless. Power without humility is temporary. And skill without patience will always falter. Tonight wasn't just a show, it was a demonstration of what mastery really looks like. Cena added, his voice calm but powerful. So the next time you feel the need to boast, to intimidate, or to show off, remember what you saw tonight. Real respect is earned, real power is measured, and real mastery speaks for itself. Be patient, be humble, and above all, respect those around you. Seagal quietly left the arena, his departure understated yet unforgettable. No grand exit, no dramatic gestures, just the quiet authority of someone who had already made his point. The audience continued cheering long after he disappeared, the lesson lingering in every conversation, every post, and every memory. And that, ultimately, was the true power of the night. Not the punches, not the stunts, not the theatrics, but the reminder that respect, humility, and self-control are far stronger than any display of raw strength. True champions understand that. And tonight, The Rock, John Cena, and every fan in that arena had seen it firsthand. CTA for engagement. Type respect in the comments if you believe humility is real strength. Share this story with someone who needs to see that true power isn't loud, it's quiet, deliberate, and earned. And tell us, where are you watching from? Let's celebrate all the fans who understand that mastery and respect go hand in hand.